Welcome to our show, Option for a Podcast. In today's episode, we're discussing the challenges of parenting in 2021 and beyond from the male perspective. How do you have those uncomfortable conversations with your kids, especially when media is putting something out there that contradicts everything that you believe in? Do you say anything? Do you let the media raise your kids? Well, in today's episode, we're going to give you our perspective. As always, have some fun with us. Sit back, watch, listen, and make sure you subscribe. Option for a Podcast. Peace.
To get it done, you know what I mean? Let's put some new knowledge. Let's put all types of situations. Let's get it. Let's go.
You seem very comfortable right now. Like you really mellowed out.
It must be being out here in your area. You know what I mean? Like Tracy, Mountain House. You know, sometimes you don't put the pressure, but out here you gotta just live up to the lights. You know what I mean? Flashing lights, like Kanye said. You know,
Hey,
good life. Let's go.
Good life, good life. And what I did today is I asked my two homies, my day ones, from high school into now. My homie DC, I got my homie Sandman. All right. I want to introduce them, and I would like to let them tell a little bit about themselves before we get into this topic of today's discussion. My homie Sandman, Sandy.
Yeah.
All right, introduce yourself to the world, to our viewers, and to our listeners.
What's going on, everybody? This is Sandman, Sandy. I'm just living it, man, like everybody else. Single father, 21-year-old daughter, family man,
21.
businessman. Well, 20. She'll be 21 in November.
I mean, ain't you like 13? Bro?
Yeah, man. I started young.
I remember that.
Believer in God. Homeboy, sports fanatic, lover of, all things. So, that's me.
All right. And my boy, hey, if you ever had a friend who said, yeah, I'll let you borrow my car, but you got to put gas in it. All right.
That's the one. That's the one, right? That's the one.
This is my boy DC. I used to be I used to be everywhere smashing in his car, man. But, you know what I'm saying? Most of all, we went to church together. You know what I'm saying? We had a shared faith, and that's something I'll never forget for as long as I live. DC, tell everybody about yourself.
What up, what up? He said day ones, you only have a couple of those. So I appreciate you having me, man. How many years back? I actually went to school with Drew.
Yeah.
And we didn't even know it.
We didn't even know it.
Kindergarten or something like that.
Right.
In L.A., moved out to Rancho. Parents moved out to Rancho. Met back up in high school. So we go way back. Us three right here. Three amigos in high school. So, yeah, but DC, married almost 20 years now. Got 4 kids. 20-year-old. He'll be 20 in December. I got a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 14-year-old. And just had a newborn baby, Victoria. She's 9 months old.
Hold on, man. That's a big gap right there.
That's a
That's a big gap. What's good?
Hey,
can't
he's still
explain it.
fertile though. He's that 42. So
I'm all natural, baby. I'm all natural, baby, and everything's going on, and it still works. And so, yeah, but 9 months. we call her the COVID baby. She has superhuman powers. She's walking and talking already 9 months now.
no vaccine required. No vaccine required.
But yeah, she's 9 months. So yeah, jump back into it. Big gap. I'm going through something different now. I feel rejuvenated. I feel young again. She's trying to keep me young. So finding that energy is where I'm at now. Laker fan, Raider fan, all West Coast, yes, Southern Cal. So let's get right to it.
West Side Connect.
West Side.
All right. So what I did today is it was on purpose. So oftentimes when you hear parenting topics, it's always from a woman's perspective. But I wanted to have the male perspective on how we deal with raising our children nowadays. Now, some of us have children at this table, some of us don't, but it doesn't matter, right? Opinion is opinion, and your insight is your insight, and it's all valued, right? If you can run with it, run with it. If you can't, hey, it's all good, right? So what I wanted to do is what we're going to talk about today is modern parenting, right? what you deal with now versus what our parents deal with. Obviously, when I was growing up and living in my household, it was always, back in my day, all right? And I find myself saying the same thing to my son and to my daughter, you know what I'm saying, or my sons, plural, and my daughter, like, yo, things are different. And I think that there's a lot of access. I think there is a lot of information that's being out there, and it's our job as parents to kind of filter that, to be that buffer. All right, what do you want your children exposed to and what you don't want them exposed to? And when they are exposed to it, how do you have those tough conversations? All right. So the first question I would like to ask is, do you find yourselves pushing your dream upon your kids? Something that you was passionate about as a kid, and you see the potential in them, and you're like, you know what? You can do the same thing. And you say, you know what? You can do the same thing because you're my clone. And what's in me is in you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And it don't necessarily. So keep it simple. Dave, basketball player. Sandy, basketball player. You know what I'm saying? So do you push that dream upon your kids, or do you let them do their own thing? Sandman, I'll start with you.
By default, it was allowing her to do her own thing because she didn't have the passion for basketball that I had. So for me, my love for basketball came when I would be, on Fig with my uncle and my grandpa. And my grandpa actually had a board with a hanger as a hoop in the backyard, South Central Los Angeles. So I would go out in the back and I would shoot the basketball in the back. I would wrap my fingers with toilet paper like there was tape, like Magic Johnson, and like every other kid that loved basketball, count down and you'd hit the game-winning shot. Well, I had a daughter who wasn't interested in basketball. Her interest was in dance. So I took that passion and I pushed her in what she loved, not in what I loved. So it was never a struggle for me to push her in something that I loved because we're different, right? So for me, it's not like that. I know it's more difficult for someone who has a son, right? But for me, I just pushed whatever she gravitated to.
I got you.
Whatever she needed, every practice, whatever she did, I was there like it was basketball, right? Like it was what I would assume I would want my son to do or what I did. So for me, it was easy. It didn't go that route.
For sure. DC?
So that's a great question, Drew. I think just like Sandy, your kids have their own passions, right? I have 4 kids. The youngest one's not in sports yet, but my 2 middle ones, my daughter and my son, they both got into soccer, right? My son played basketball. My daughter plays soccer. They're both right now in soccer, but I wouldn't say that I necessarily tried to push my dream of basketball, right? I had the passion for basketball, but you have to direct that focus and that passion that they have for their sport, right? And I think the thing that I do find myself pushing is the things that I saw back in the day that I made a mistake on. And, whether it was listening to a coach or that discipline to go practice on your own, driving that passion and making sure you did the stuff on your own that I knew I didn't do, like at the level I thought I should have to be great. Because Kobe always says great people do great things and they get towards being great. They work towards being great. And, that was something that I saw that I didn't do to my maximum potential. So that's my goal now, is to make sure I try to push them. And that's where I find myself sometimes looking back at what I did, pushing towards them, but making sure that they reach their full potential, at trying to be great. And that was something that I felt I didn't conquer. So it's like, that's what I try to do with them, whether it's sports or anything else.
For sure. And GQ Nesto, I'm going to throw it out there. This is your government name. This Coach Nesto, right? Coach Nesto is a renowned soccer coach. So what do you think as far as, because you dealt with a lot of parents, you know what I'm saying? And you had parents who had children out there without the talent.
So correction. I technically didn't deal with the parents. I tossed that over to my brother. You know what I mean? Let him do with all the political BS. You know what I mean? So to me, I made it very clear that when my coaching assignment was done, aside from being their temporary ride, you know what I mean? Like, I made sure that, like, I was like, you know what? Like, if a parent has something to say, they can talk to you, and then they can send me an email and CC me on it, right? But you know what? I'm listening to you, all of you guys, right? And obviously, I don't have a parent. I mean, personally, I don't even have a fish. You know, he probably would die, right? So let me just tell you this. Obviously, there's the truth, and there's the old school that obviously you guys want your kids to be woke. You know what I mean? You want them to be basketball players. But let's not kid ourselves, right? We live in a society where TikTok has taken over. You know what I mean? So now necessarily you don't have to be intelligent or have to be some sort of enlightened to make it in this world, right? So do you guys ever catch yourself where, like, you see where there's that little kid, I don't know what his name is, but there's like some kid that he's just killing it. He's a brat, but all he talks is about toys, right? Obviously, this doesn't really apply to you because you guys have like 16-year-olds or whatever, right? But my whole everything that I'm trying to say right now is, do you guys ever find yourself where, like, yo, you know what? Maybe you should just be a TikToker, or maybe you should just do this. You know what I mean? Because let's not kid ourselves. Like, unless your kid is like Paul Gasol or freaking D Wade or LeBron, chances are is like, I mean, like, you have pretty bad odds. I mean, LeVar Ball like got his 3 kids in the NBA, but let's not kid ourselves. Like, it's a shadow they have to live behind it. So, do you really want to put yourself like and put your kid in that situation where he's not really going to be free to kind of, you know, develop whatever skills they have, whether it's TikTok or whether it's something that's old school, skilled or whatever. I mean, you just never know. So do you guys ever catch yourselves in that situation? Because let's no cap. Let's just get this thing going. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know. I really want to know.
Well, but Dave good though, and I ain't even going to, because I know he about to respond right now. But like, Dave's good. Dave is like 6'2",
let him through.
So you know his kids, you know what I'm saying, genetically are gonna be taller than him because he's taller than his father. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. How would you respond, Dave? I'm sorry, DC.
Hey, so that's funny because, you know, you automatically think, all right, they're talented, they're athletic, right? They should go that path. And then I'm sitting back with the kids watching YouTube, and I'm like, I'm seeing these cats making $1 million off of doing videos and dances. I'm like, wait, hold up. We might have to do some dances. We might need to focus. We might need to focus on soccer and basketball. Let's learn this dance real quick.
You don't want to get up at 9 in the morning. Okay, I get it.
I'm like, do that dance. Like, so, but yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. So now you have a new avenue to making money, and it's like that. It's so simple, and then you got the other side where you're like, well, with sports and academics, you got to work hard for these. And so they see the money fast with this YouTube, but they know that they have to work hard with academics and sports. And it's like a double-edged sword. I can't tell them, like, no, don't use your talent and things that you may be able to do real fast and make this money, because that's a new opportunity that we didn't know about.
Right.
Like you said, we were talking about technology in a modern world, raising kids or just the kids in general, how they see things. Yeah, they're looking more towards the YouTubers than the LeBrons. They're looking more towards the YouTuber, or they see Tesla, you know, in the people that are making money off of things, modern technology, and it's just a lot faster. So, are they like more advanced than us? Should we be, you know, guiding them towards that way?
Do they want to yak? You know what I mean? Like, no, they don't want to yak.
They don't. So, it's like I said, you want to focus on academics, let them do their physical things as far as sports, but don't count that YouTube and that entertainment out because it's a new avenue. But I wouldn't push it. You know what I mean? They have to have that foundation, and that's what I'm going for now. But I can't knock the YouTuber that's pulling up in the Lambo, and he's only 14 years old. Like, who am I to say? Like, Who am I to say that that's not a avenue to take?
Right.
Hey, all you can say is he paying his taxes.
Like you hating it. You know what I'm saying? You like, hey,
I'm driving a Camry. He driving a Lambo. Maybe he could teach me something.
they ain't even cool, son. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
You
Dad,
can't
you
do
driving a Camry, bro.
He ain't that cool. He ain't that cool.
it. What about you, Sam, man? What do you think?
I'm gonna sound real old right now.
All right, go ahead.
And we went to school together, so y'all
For
with
sure.
me. Don't leave
For
me
sure.
out here,
All right,
okay?
I got you.
I have somewhat a problem to push for that, okay? My reason being is that I want you to make sure that you're comfortable with yourself regardless of what public opinion is on you, okay? If you shoot to just be YouTube famous, Instagram famous, or whatever, then I don't want your only push to be that other people out there like you, right? Because that's technically what you put out there, only what you allow them to see. You see what I'm saying? So before you go that route, not to say that that's a negative route, but before you go that route, I just need to make sure that you're good with who you are inside on how you feel and what the people around you that really know you feel. Okay?
Even if they give you a Bentley.
Even if they get
No
you a
cap,
Bentley.
no
Yeah,
cap. The biggest
absolutely.
share. Like,
Absolutely, because we all want it, right? We all want it, and I'm not gonna talk like it's not important or it's not special, but you know, the more famous you get, you still are who you are. You either you that bigger asshole, or you that bigger giver, or you that bigger lover because you got a bigger platform. So to get that big platform without defining who you are can be very, very, very dangerous. Because to have daughters, if she don't have acceptance that she's beautiful from the beginning, the same when that clown on YouTube tells her that she's beautiful, you know she's gonna fall for it quickly, right?
You was a player in high school.
Hey, brother.
So wait.
Let's get on that. Let's get on that.
Let me talk about before we get into that. Before we get into that, I mean, I don't have no daughters or anything like that, right? No kids. That's not that I know of. But
Wow, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
just saying, like, if like, okay, put yourself in that situation. You have a daughter, right? Gorgeous, blah blah blah, right? We have an industry where sex sells, right? So, what's your take on how you're gonna really counter back from her saying like, "Hey, Dad, I want to be a model," or "Hey, like she out there twerking." I mean, let's not lie.
So 3 minutes into the podcast, that's what
I mean,
already there.
Okay.
Let's keep
It's
it
fair.
real.
It's
Let's
fair.
keep it real.
It's fair. As they get older, they're going to be young ladies. Period. Point blank. Don't matter what we do or say. They're going to be young ladies. They want to feel beautiful. They want to do beautiful things. They want to wear things that maybe we wouldn't agree upon, right? I'm just selective on how I approach that, what I say, because I don't want to be a dictator, because I don't want her to accept dictatorship in relationships that she has, right? However, I'm Pops, right? And she know that I'm gonna say something, whether it's in the form of a joke, or whether it's in the form of maybe just a I see what's going on type thing. So, you know, for instance, she was hanging up her laundry, right? And I saw a shirt that I didn't think would cover, you know, what I thought, you know, I would like. Not crazy, but what I would like, right? So I made a comment like, "Oh, that's cool. You washing your little sister clothes for her? That's dope, right?" That just let her know within that quick conversation is that I see what's going on. I may not like it, but at least it kind of gave her just a little bit of, if I go too far, you know, what will my dad say next? Like, kind of like that's enough type thing, right? But at a certain age, you can't be telling these kids what to do anymore. You have to do that younger. And then at that point, they're going to come up with a boundary, right? When we were young, stop me if I'm talking too long on my turn, right?
Go ahead, bro.
When me and DC and everyone, when we ran together, there was limits to what we did in regards to as wild as what we were, right? Because we had the church kind of upbringing. Right. His mom knew my mom, right? I knew where Drew lived, right? And
Hey,
Wait,
they got access to Jimmy G now. You know what I mean? So
Uh-huh.
you got to look at it that way. Like being gorgeous can attract like and you know Derek Carr, an amazing athlete out there, or an upcoming college thing. So it's hard, especially dealing with social media combination of the other stuff as far as the upcoming. So like, yes, you're on principles, you're on values and everything, but let's just not kid ourselves. Like you guys have to deal with a lot of new horizons that is kind of hard. So elaborate on that.
I think the biggest part is, like you said, sex sells, right? So the sexualization of women, young ladies, like you're talking about, it's coming earlier now. Like if you think about it,
For
we
all
didn't-
nationalities?
All of them. All of them. Hey,
all.
I have nieces. I'm ready to pop the trunk on all these little dudes. I'm just saying. I'm ready to pop the trunk. Like, hey,
I guess-
I'm more strict than he is. You know what I
if you
mean?
think
Like-
about it, and it's funny that we're from SoCal, we're Hollywood right here. Hollywood has influenced the whole world. Our movies and everything that's on videos has influenced the whole world. Everything that we sexualized and made popular comes from right here, what we put on TV, right? So our kids have had, like I said, the access. You know, we barely got into the internet. I don't think the internet existed when I was in high school.
Hey, we know Halle Berry though. We know Halle Berry.
Hey, I'm old. The people that watch this, they gonna see me and they gonna like, hey, so the internet
Ashanti?
wasn't there. Yeah.
Halle Berry.
We got AOL, right? AOL Messenger.
It's dial up.
Hey, hang up the phone. Hang up the phone. I'm trying to check my email.
Real, right?
What's up?
We barely saw videos. Now our kids is like at the touch screen, and YouTube is popping, Snapchat is popping, Instagram, everything is right
AirDrop.
there. And like you said, the sexualization of women is out of control. So like Sandman said, you got to establish it early. You got to make sure you set your boundaries. You say what you respect. You know, with my wife, I got to make sure I establish that what she's wearing. Not that I'm in control of that, but like, you know, if I'm hey, but I'm saying like, look, if I don't feel like she should wear that, you can't wear that. You know what I mean? If I'm established that, you know, she should portray herself this way, that's something that you should do to mirror that, because we're parents.
So wait, so the mom trying to do it too? You know what I mean?
No.
Like the mom and the
See,
daughter.
No, he's saying what you allow.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay.
It
Just making
kinda-
sure. I was like, damn.
Not
like,
that you're in total control, but that's what they see out there, and you know they might try to push the envelope, right? And that's where you have to reel it back in, because you know this world can raise your kids if you let them.
Man,
Definitely.
The internet can
Look,
raise your kids.
okay.
put that
so-
on a t-shirt.
No, I got you. So
There it is.
all right, bam. Next question, right? So we seen what happened with Dave Chappelle. Y'all seen the Netflix special?
Yeah.
Have y'all seen that?
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. So, what kind of conversations have you had with your kid or your children regards to gender identity?
Ooh.
That's what I want to know, and then I'm gonna tell you what I said.
Hey, let's not get bad now.
We gotta
It's our
be
first time out here. It's our
politically
first
correct
time.
in this.
No, speak from your own experience. You know what I'm saying?
So how I approach that, and you know the total conversation hasn't been all the way had, but it's like kind of heat checks. You know what I mean? See, like what's going on?
Massage it in.
How the girls looking at school, son? You got any cute girls in your class? Who you going with the homecoming, babe? Like, is there any guys that asked you out? You gotta do
Look
heat
at the
checks.
probabilities.
I know you, like you're not playing basketball. I see where that goes. Nah, but I ain't gonna lie. Like, to keep it all the way 100, I don't disrespect. Yeah, I don't disrespect or have hate towards any of the gender issue. Like, I don't want to say issues, but gender identifications out there. I don't hate anyone. I love everyone, but you know, I'm old school and I believe a certain way. You know, we was raised in the church, right? And you know,
What the Bible say?
what does the Bible say?
He said right, like they had a plan to like agree to this. You know what I mean? Like right, like we could, right? We went in there, we stayed in there, right?
It's simple, but I'll elaborate on. But go ahead and continue to share.
I just think that I feel a certain way, so I raise my kids that way. You know, not to say that I would hate them if they changed their path, but you know, I raise them to believe that, you know, a man and woman, you know, are together, and that's natural. And like I said, I wouldn't hate them if they, you know, chose a different path, but that's the route that you know, you have to stand for something, right?
I might not atomize my friends, you know what I mean? Like,
you know, and like I said, I won't discriminate someone that feels a certain way. I feel that everybody should have their rights, right? You talk about Dave Chappelle. He made a great point that, you know, certain people are getting more rights than, like, let's say, just civil rights.
Right.
And I think that was a big reason why he wasn't dropped from Netflix, because Netflix knows, like, well, look, you know, I got these kind of shows, and everybody has their option or to watch, you know, violent shows, whether it's about ethnicity or sexuality. We got all these different options. How is this person going to get canceled because he has his opinion? Not to mention he's a comedian, right? He's a comedian, so he should have his freedom to those. I'm not saying he's teaching hate, because it's not that he's teaching hate, right? He just has his opinion about you know, where he stands in that subject. So I think everybody should still, you know, we all should still respect each other, but let's be honest, sexuality is starting to cross too many lines. It's like, why are we bringing that into everything? You know what I mean? Why is the new Superman?
You saw that, bruh?
It's like
wait.
Hey,
what's going on?
Let me just fill you in.
Hold
Let
on.
me just fill you in for the listeners and
you
the
didn't send me a
viewers
text on this.
No, I got you. So for the listeners and viewers who aren't aware, Clark Kent and Lois Lane had a kid. I forget his name. Forget it. But his son is the new Superman. And in the new Superman, DC Comics authorized for the new Superman to be bisexual. And in the comic, they show him kissing a man. Now, like what I say, and we gonna hop to Sandman, right? Look, if that's what you do, that's what you do. I think the whole problem is we think as a culture, as a people, that we have to be monolithic. And what I mean by monolithic is we have to think the same. No, we don't have to think the same. But just because I don't support you, don't mean I don't love you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
If I see you in the need of help, I'm going to be there. I'm not going to question your sexuality or what you do in your private time. That has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
But when you try to make it law, like I don't know how I feel about that.
Let me hold you on that, Drew. Because I think it's way beyond that, right? I just think that, like, for example, I don't know, and this has nothing to do, like, my condolences to that family, blah blah blah, whatever I have to say to give people the participation ribbon and feel better, but I feel like, for example, that new person that was missing not so long ago, and they went cross country. I mean, right with that, I would have been like, it's already a sketch going across country. But my point is that that story was heard. But what about the other stories that have been happening that haven't been heard? So right. I don't really necessarily think that it's about what a person is sexually attracted to. I just think that it's very selective. We live in an environment where everything is selective. What's gonna give clout to whatever the topic might be? Right. So I think that it's gone to a point where now we're living in a whole world where things are way past being selective. It's more of a what's gonna be a 9 o'clock news or 5 o'clock news, or what's gonna bring people together in a weird way. But I mean, I want to know what he's gonna say about all this. Let's go on that.
Sandman, how would you have that conversation as far as gender identity and what we're dealing with nowadays?
I would allow a child to grow up and allow them to get those feelings, right? Like, no one pushed anything on me. Excuse me. I didn't know the sexuality of any of my superheroes. I didn't care. Like, Batman didn't run around with women, right? You know what I mean? So I feel like there is something that is being forced on our children too young. Personal experience, I mean, my daughter, she had black Barbies. She had, things of what is perceived to be what little girls are to grow up and play with, all right? So there wasn't a question mark in my scenario. I just want to be sensitive to those, to where there are sometimes the young boys who were, sometimes you feel as if at an early age you can see a direction of where they're not necessarily, in line with what the other little boys are doing, right? That's a tough question, Drew, right? I think everybody deserves to be loved. I think everybody deserves rights. I think nobody deserves to be discriminated on. I feel like they should be comfortable to be who they are and not walk around, feeling like they're judged, right? But I also feel like it's not a politician's job to decide what, or a TV director decide, what's going to be the push on my child or my nephew or DC's children, who I look at as my nieces and nephews. Like, I don't think that it's somebody's job to decide, like, hey, I'm gonna push sexuality to them, right?
So now you just mentioned right now a black Barbie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you necessarily have her pick that, or she actually identify with the Barbie? Because that's really what it really comes down to. You're saying that you don't really care about that, right? But did you really care? Because sometimes subconsciously we do things, right?
I think sometimes as a black individual, you want to see representation in your kids and TV shows and movies and everything. So to me, it's a no-brainer to provide my black daughter a black.
We're all equal, right?
Absolutely.
We're all the same color in a sense of we're all humans, right?
Absolutely. I think that it's foolish to think that we're not different. We're all humans, and I think by getting my black child a black Barbie is not saying that you're better than this person or that person. It's just like, hey, these people who we put up as heroes can look like you too, right? So it was a joker in my family that my daughter had a lot of toys and a lot of things, so they called her Barbie, right? Well, why does Barbie have to be a white girl with everything? Why can't she be somebody of a darker complexion?
But it could be redirected. I think we had a comment, like, for example, that the N word was used, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to go into that right now, because obviously I just think we would be killing time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for example, I was raised in Oakland, right? And to me, the N word was more of identifying with my homie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, are we applying the same rules to that, right? Because now people use that maybe in a derogatory way, where it's kind of like sometimes it comes out offensive, right? So now, based on what you're saying, it all comes hand in hand of what are we really, where are we striving as a community, not as you're black, I'm Mexican, or whatever the case is, right?
I think that I think there's a narrative right now on social media and in the world that if you're proud of what you are, then you are putting down something else. Okay. I think that you can be a white person with a white Barbie, and that's just what your child relates to, and that doesn't mean that you're a racist, right? Or anything like that. So I think it should be the same with other nationalities. The problem is that before there was inclusiveness, there was nothing out there for us to do. We had 4 or 5 shows that we can watch on television. Mm-hmm. Anytime that we had a movie, we was filled up at the Crenshaw movie theater, watching Thin Line Between Love and Hate.
I got you. Yo, Dave, I want your take on this, right? So, not to switch it up, because it's all correlated. So do your sons and daughter, do they go out? Like, they go kick it with their homies, right? So I tell my son this all the time, but before I get into that, I want to ask you a question. When your daughter and your son's friends come pick them up, do they come to the door and say, yo, my name is DC, I'm about to take your kid out, you know what I'm saying, we're about to go have some fun, we're about to go to the movies? Does that happen, or is it you feel like not an animosity, but like a barrier of, yo, Dad, it's cool, like, they don't got to come to the door, I'll be back? How do you deal with that?
So that has come up recently. So my son, he has a cell phone. Text me like, "Hey, we're going to this." It was a jump it up place, one of those places that jump around, and he was going up there with his homies, and it was like, "Well, who you going with?" So and so. I don't know his parents. like first off, I don't know his parents. You telling me you're going here with so and so? We don't have that relationship yet. I don't know who you're going with. I'll take you there first, and then I'll meet your homies. And that's what I did. I took him there. Make him shake my hand. Right. What's your name? This and that, and just establish like I'm John's dad. I'm sure you have parents too, and it's respectful for us to get that relationship first before I have my kids running the streets with you. Not that they're running the streets, but at the end of the day, I want to establish something. He just doesn't kick it with everybody, and I don't know what they're doing, who their parents are, that type of relationship. My wife had more of a thing to say about that, and kind of made me think like, yeah, you're right. Let's make sure that happens. What's and then, well, just the matter of doing it, just establishing that, because I'm kind of more lenient. I'm like, okay, you do. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I know so and so, but I don't know him.
But it's good.
It's good. Let me go up there and make sure though, And then with my daughter, it's definitely not at the point where like dudes are picking her up. Like it's not there, but I would definitely make sure that happens. I have to meet you. You have to come and ask to take my daughter out. I need to see your face. Go through that Will Smith, Martin Lawrence scene with the
definitely Bad Boys.
With Bad Boys, right? But we gotta establish something, and then you gotta make sure that your kids respect you enough to understand. Like, hey, look, my parents are just looking out for me. They want my well-being looked at as far as when we go out. And it's a crazy world right now. It ain't the same as when we were young. And when we were younger, we thought it was crazy. Now it's just way out of control, right?
So
just making sure you establish that relationship with your kids and their friends, their parents, is a big thing. And that's what I'm learning still. So
it's definitely a learning experience. And I'm gonna share my story real quick, right? So my son, like, I don't know, he can say different, but I've given him everything that I wanted from a parent, right, from a father, right? I've given this dude everything, right? But with that, I tried to make my own adjustments, as I'm not gonna be as strict. So when he want to go out on his outings and kick it with his homies, I was used to, look, I'm gonna put myself out there on the table. The first time I went out with any of my friends was when Sandman, y'all came through. We went to go watch a Jackie Chan movie in Tierra Vista. My moms and my dad had everybody come in the house.
Yep.
Hey, introduce yourselves, okay? Because you're taking my son with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool. Y'all can go have fun, but you're taking my son with you. And I just want to make sure he get back safely. That was the first time I went out. I think I was a junior in high school. That was the first time I went out. And to this day, my parents bring that up, right? So my son, he'll be like, yo, Dad, I'm about to go with the homies. We're about to go to Yosemite. I'm like, bruh, Yosemite's like 2.5 hours away. You know what I'm saying? Like, can I meet them? Like, Dad, why you want to meet them? We ain't dating. And I'm just like, oh, bruh. Like,
I want to make sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how long they been driving and, all the et cetera, et cetera. But, dude, I love you that much. Why don't you see that? You are the heir to my throne, and I don't even have a throne, but I've given you my name or any of my kids.
But that's the part where, once again, I mean, I'm just looking outside, outside in. But that's the part where you gotta have confidence in your fatherhood and in what you're teaching, right? Because there's no way, there's no possibility, right, that your kid's gonna go out there and go butt booty naked for no reason if you taught them not to go butt booty naked and you know what I mean? Like, there's certain concepts that kids are willing to, regardless of technology, regardless of anything, if you put those things in there, like, we were talking about a life coach earlier, right? And we're talking about the simple fact that if you don't go out there, right, and have faith in what you basically raised, and not only that, but adapt to what's really coming out, You know, you can't just expect that the old school, just because it's old school, is right. No, you have to realize that you're gonna have to deal with so many different circumstances. So it takes character of yourself to understand that your way of parenting is not necessarily the right way. It's more of, let me adjust of how everything is going and how I'm gonna make this kid a perfect person for humanity, or he's gonna contribute something to this world. You know what I mean? I think that's what it all comes down to. But how do you get yourself in that mode? Because at the end of the day, he obviously came out of your balls. Let's get that out of that. And then he did some damage to your girl, right? To your wife, right? So let's put all those things in perspective, right? We want to make it worth it, do we? Right? I mean, I look at it that way. I don't have kids.
You said adjust, and that was a big piece. And that's kind of like where we're at right now, is trying to adjust to this modern world and raising kids. And I think that's the hardest part, because, you know, you're old school. You, like you said, you have to believe in what you taught your kids, that they're not going to go astray. And so how much do you budge? How much do you change from what you grew up on to adjust to what they're going through now? Is that safe? Are you leaning are you being too lenient, right? And that's the thing I'm learning or trying to go through right now, is making sure that I'm still firm in what I believe in. They're still safe. They're still growing and being responsible. But at the same time, you're trying to, you know, not be too old school. And I think that's a growing parent's, you know, everyday struggle.
I got one for Sam, man. So, in your opinion, right? In your opinion,
he's over there shaking his head like, damn.
You're getting us with all the topics.
Because my daughter gave me some harsh words before I came up here. You know, she kind of grabbed me.
You try to chase clout, and then you over here
don't be embarrassing us on this podcast.
But no, in your eyes, when is your child grown? Because they always
never.
If no. Listen, wait. Wait. Because if they respect you, they're always going to respect your opinion. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's their decision, and that's what I tell my parents and my mom, specifically my mom, all the time. Like, yo, I appreciate your enlightenment, but
he lying. He be hella scared. He be hella scared. He be like,
we on national television.
I just gotta keep it. I just keep it real. Like,
in your opinion, when is your
cancel the show?
Stop.
He spoke too much.
Why you damn, bro? Stop.
Like, cut that out. Time out.
As a parent, as a parent now, right? We could talk again 5 years from now, and it could be different. But as a parent now, I don't look at my daughter as grown, right? Now, I look at her as not at the same position she was in high school, but that's my baby, right? But there is no bedtime. There is no curfew. Now it turns into adult responsibilities. Like, I tell you if I'm not coming home, right? Motherfucker, you gonna tell me if you're not coming home. You're gonna tell me if it gets past 1 inch or so that I'll be, I'm here, I'm there. You know, we talk about this when I talk to my other homies who are fathers. There was a time where she was 18 or 19 and she said, hey, Dad, can I, right? And my response to her was just like, you don't have to ask me anymore. You just let me know when you'll be home. You know what I'm saying?
A little show of respect.
Correct, right? But at the end of the day, she's done everything that she's needed to do at this point. So for her, it was just like, all right, bet. You know what I mean? Right. But I felt like that was a big moment for me, right? Right? So to your question, when are they grown? It just really depends on your child, right? You can look at an 18-year-old that's irresponsible, that's still doing dumb stuff, you know what I mean? And you, in your heart, you could think, damn, if they go out here and they go to these parties where there's drugs, women, whatever.
But hey,
they go to the same thing I did. Hey, that might be a problem.
But that's a production of you or what you did, though. You know what I mean? That's a production of what you did. Because I feel like all these kids now, I feel like Caillou ruined everything. Right? I mean, Caillou, you know what I mean? Like, you got all these kids now that they feel entitled. Now, like you said, she asked you, can I do this, right? Mm-hmm. But the right question is, may I do this? right? So now we're living in a whole different era where they're living with all these concepts that is all about like what society throws at them, right? So
I'm just concerned because at 25 we was out here doing dumb shit, right? You're not done parenting. You see what I'm saying?
But you didn't have an iPhone. You didn't have like something that you can. So now your like dumb shit is not compared to their dumb shit is like virtual. You know what I mean? Their dumb shit goes
It's
through
life-threatening.
Yeah, it goes through an email, right? You got nudes, you got all these things. I mean, all these things that you can't really avoid. Because imagine Waka Flocka or like Gucci Mane showing up to your house like, yo, I'm trying to take your girl to prom. Like, what are you gonna react? You know what I mean?
It would be different to me because I didn't show her Waka, and no disrespect to Waka Flocka, right? She saw me every day, get up, go to work, come home. You know what I mean? So hopefully your daughter looks at that as a mate if you are a positive type of influence, right?
That example.
Now, I'm in a different situation than some of these gentlemen as to where I was a single father. So there's no control of what happens over there at her other household.
Was it your fault or was it like Destiny?
I mean, that's another podcast.
I just wanted to make sure. A whole other red cup conversation.
That's a whole other podcast, right?
All right.
Right? But of course you're fearful. I don't think if you talk to any father, you're fearful of the bullshit that your daughter brings home, right? But I think if you have a connection with your child, she knows what she could bring home and what she can't bring home, right? So I feel like at this point, I'm only speaking for having a daughter of my age, right? I could feel like, okay, I can't control, like she's gonna have boyfriends and everything. And I feel like the situation that she's in now, I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that. Like, I'm not afraid. Like, yeah, cool dude.
Respect.
You know, if I'm walking out the house when he pulls up, he's trying to help me with bags. Like, I feel like he's trying to prove that he's someone worthy to be with my daughter.
Till he shows up in a Maserati, you know,
that can
Martin,
be a concern.
That
That could be a concern. And I don't have the things to tell that person, you know, tell my daughter, like, hey, watch out, right? If I had a Maserati, I could sit her and tell her, like, hey, that's not everything. But if someone pulled up in a Maserati,
go girl,
we're in trouble. As fathers, we may be in trouble. But I think there's a point to where I worry, but I don't really worry. Because our parents, there was no way of contacting us when we left the crib, right? There was no way of knowing what was going on.
Chirp
like,
sounds, you know what I mean? Like bird noises, nothing.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
But
Maybe a pager.
correct.
The lights turning off.
Correct, right? So I feel like our parents had more faith, if we're gonna bring it back to, you know, faith. They had more faith than we did, because, you know.
But you see, they had chirp noises, right? You have an airdrop. You have a text message.
FaceTime.
You have FaceTime.
It was still built off of respect, bro.
That's
You
what
know
it comes
I'm
down
saying?
to.
But
It was almost no.
But are you really putting that into it? Because let's not bullshit, right? A lot of these generations, like obviously, you guys don't want to go through the turbulences and everything that you guys went through, right? Because you guys want to make your kids in a better circumstances, right? So like in a sense, back in the day, you guys got an ass beat, right? So now you want to make sure that you dialogue with your kid, right? You don't want to get to that point because then it shuts you down, right? So you can't compare those things.
Because that's what kept me in track.
It kept you in track. It kept you in track, but do that to your kid now.
At what age, though?
They won't talk to you for like forever.
At what age do you think being physical with your kids needs to stop? Or did we ever get physical with our kids?
I ain't gonna lie, Andrew's scary though. He's scary
today.
He's scary. He's mad.
No. But like for my dad, I think I was in the 5th grade.
When it stopped?
It's 10. Yeah, that's when it stopped. I didn't need nothing more from my dad. I was like, you know what you did to me tonight?
Like that never has to happen again.
That never, ever, bro. Look, I tell the story now because we need to wrap it up. But I told the story in one of our first podcasts is my dad never took a day off, right? So when I was in the 5th grade, living in Los Angeles, all right, I was almost in jeopardy of failing. That was going to hold me back. And for some kind of way, that got back to my dad. My dad, who never took a day off, he took some time off, right? So what I said, I'm going to sleep on this couch because he got to go to work eventually. My dad stayed at that couch sitting on the floor for about 3 days straight. And I'm just like, bruh, I couldn't even pee. I couldn't even do nothing, bruh. He waited for me to wake up. As soon as I woke up, bro, we went in that bathroom and he handled his business. You know what, Dad? You got all my respect, bro. Like, I'm going to do right from here on out. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't, nowadays it's, we call them Child Protective Services or whatever. No, different. Man, it was then that I want to say it was then, because then I was like, yo, he whooped my ass. You know what I'm saying? But now that I have my own children, it's like, yo, he loved me that much. Like, of course it could be wrong. But I want to say it was borderline child abuse. I'm not saying that. He got into me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do right. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, bro, if there is no boundaries, then you do whatever you want to do. Yeah. So people want to know, people want to ask questions on why my kid is acting like this. Yo, bro, have you introduced religion? And not saying that Christianity is the way to go. Not saying that Judaism is the way to go. Not saying that Buddhism is the way to go, right? But like, dude, if you don't introduce those type of boundaries, they do whatever they want.
But remember, traditions nowadays to the modern age is boring. Right. So
what works and what don't work, bro.
Yeah. But how are you gonna get that message across? Because at the same time, let's not kid ourselves. You didn't get the message across right away. You just said it right now. You just said, "Hey, my dad whooped my ass." He got there, right? So now you send that message and you say, or what, your line is canceled, or no more social media and everything. It doesn't necessarily mean that impact is going to take right away, where you're going to get that message across right away with your kids. So, like, either way, I think the more generations happens, it's a lot harder to manage, because now you have to adjust from a spiritual purpose, you name it, right? You have to adjust.
I think this part of the conversation kind of brings everything that we talked about back around in a full circle. Because we're talking about establishing like boundaries, right? And you talked about religion and everything as far as the modern world, everything's at their access, right? There's nothing's out of control anymore. You can everyone has rights. Everyone has can do this. In this state, being a pedophile may be legal. Like you starting to see all kind of weird rules.
You don't even know what's
right?
a girl or what's a guy. That's so sad.
Everything is sliding to where everything's acceptable. And I'm not saying discriminate against one thing, but I'm trying to say is like the older school had like some type of boundaries, and as we're getting farther and farther in time, we're starting to see less boundaries. So how much do you hold in your family? What do you establish young? To where your kids, like you said, at some point will reach a respect for you. That's where I'm at. Where my son is making sure that he respects authority. You know what I mean? I got to know that he understands. Like my dad is telling me to do this. I need to do these chores for a reason. The other day I told him to take out the trash. He was like, "Why you ain't do it?"
He had the nerve to say that.
It came out of his mouth. Why you didn't do it? I'm like, because that's your chore.
Hey,
I don't ask you to go to work for me.
Wait till he comes out with the next Nicki Minaj. You know what I mean? You can't even tell him anything no more.
Chill. So look. We can go on and on and on about this, right? But this is gonna come to the conclusion of it. So that's actually a topic that I really was interested in talking about, is the chore thing, right? But for the sake of time, we're gonna wrap it up right here, and join us. Please join us on episode 2 of this specific topic. But before I come to the close of every show, I'd like to open up the floor to our guests and to our hosts. All right. Today we're gonna start off with my boy Sandman. Right? Is there anything you would like to leave our listeners and our viewers? The floor is yours.
Nah, man. I mean, outside of just this topic and the sit down, first of all, man, blessings to you guys in this awesome platform that you guys are putting out, man. Intellectual topics to help people out. And for this scenario, man, I would just encourage you to just love your children. This parenting stuff doesn't come with instruction booklets, right? I just want you to love and support your children, even if it's something that necessarily you aren't into. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I wish I had a great exit for you, man.
No, that
just
was
love
great.
your
What you
children,
talking
man,
about?
and love life, man. So sorry.
DC.
Yeah, thanks again. How was your day podcast? It was a great platform that you put us on. I'm not gonna lie, you put every controversial subject out there
All in one.
all in one. I think we touched every subject on this, and it definitely has to be a part 2. But I would say to the parents out there, starting with young ones, even up to the older kids, teenagers, it's not a book like you said, and it's going to be a lot of things that you're still going to learn. You're going to continue to learn. You're always going to be a parent. You're always going to want to teach your kids right from wrong, but stand for something.
Right.
You know, that's what we're lacking in this world right now is nobody standing for something, and everybody's loosey-goosey. Everything's allowed. If you want to establish something in your family and your household, stand for something because, you know, the world, like I said, will raise your kids if you don't.
For sure. GQ Nesto.
Well, I'm gonna tally down on both of your guys' comment in a nutshell. I think that accountability and being a man, you know what I mean? Because sometimes I think that we take decisions based out of emotions or based off what we're taught, but we have to make sure that we take accountability to what we're doing, failing to do, and etc. Right? If we get all these outcomes that don't necessarily meet our values or what we want to accomplish in life or what we want our last name to stand for, like, let's take accountability of what we're failing to do and let's just try to fix it. Like, don't blame social media, don't blame all these other platforms that at the end of the day, it's like you raise your kid to be stupid enough to follow that. So let's just keep it real.
All right. And like I said, I'm your boy Drew. We thank you again for tuning in and listening. I would say this. It's very complicated. We don't know what to do. We don't know what's right. I think as a young man, we all look back and say, yo, if I was my parents, I would have done this differently. But until you have your own children, you see the sacrifices that your mother and your father made for you. And then it wasn't until then that I saw my father as if I can cuss, I know they're going to listen to this episode, so I'm not. My dad is a superhero, in my opinion. He's a superhero. And until you face with that, then, hey, don't speak to me until you're dealing with it. You know, a lot of times, like, we got coaches, we got parents, we got all kinds of influences. But if you can't relate to me, if you ain't walked in my shoes, then shut up, bro.
Damn, like shit.
If you don't know what I've experienced, how can you relate to me? So I know what my dad went through, especially living in Los Angeles, California. You know what I'm saying? Working at the Crenshaw District. You know what I'm saying? Post office. My dad was there for 32 years. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I know it's over 30. But, hey, Dad, I love you. I thank you. Like I said, I'm your boy Drew. This is How Was Your Day podcast. Tune in next time. Peace.